WWW Triple Threat Match on SmackDown. Roman Reigns vs CM Punk vs Demon Finn Balor I14/February/26. The triple threat match between Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Demon Finn Balor on SmackDown February 14, 2026 was supposed to be impossible because CM Punk is hospitalized with career-threatening injuries from Roman's brutal Valentine's Day assault just 24 hours earlier. But here's what's going to make you absolutely lose your mind. CM Punk showed up anyway, worked the match against doctor's orders with broken ribs and a concussion, and what happened in that ring was the most reckless, dangerous, and absolutely insane display of either courage or stupidity in WWE history. And the finish? It reveals that Finn Balor's demon persona has been corrupted by the final dynasty, turning wrestling's most supernatural force into just another weapon in Roman's arsenal. Because this wasn't just a match, it was CM Punk risking paralysis and potential death to prove he won't be intimidated by Roman Reigns, and WWE letting him do it despite knowing the catastrophic liability they were taking on. And when the Demon turned on Punk to give Roman the victory, it exposed that nobody in WWE is safe from the final dynasty's corruption, not even supernatural entities that are supposed to be beyond human manipulation. Let's establish how absolutely insane this entire situation is. 24 hours before the SmackDown, CM Punk was brutalized by Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and the final dynasty in an assault so vicious that he was hospitalized with broken ribs, internal bleeding requiring surgery, and a severe concussion. Medical professionals said Punk would be out 4 to 6 months minimum. So when WWE announced on Friday afternoon that the main event of SmackDown would be Roman Reigns vs CM Punk vs Demon Finn Balor in a triple threat match, everyone assumed it was a storyline placeholder that would be changed once the show started. Maybe Dean Ambrose would replace Punk. Maybe they'd do Roman vs Demon one-on-one. But then CM Punk's music hit at 9:47 p.m. Eastern Time, and he actually walked out. Not on a stretcher. Not as a pre-taped segment. CM Punk, less than 24 hours after surgery and with visible bandaging around his torso, limping noticeably, looking like he'd been in a car accident, walked down that ramp to compete in a triple threat match. The crowd's reaction was split. Half were giving Punk a standing ovation for his toughness, half were concerned that they were about to watch someone seriously injure themselves or worse on live television. Here's what makes this situation infuriating from a medical and ethical standpoint. CM Punk should not have been cleared to compete. Broken ribs? You risk a rib puncturing a lung with any impact. Recent internal surgery? You risk reopening wounds or causing internal bleeding. Concussion? You risk second impact syndrome, which can cause permanent brain damage or death. But WWE cleared him anyway. Why? Because the ratings and drama of CM Punk defying medical advice to face Roman Reigns was worth more to them than Punk's long-term health. Because tough guy fights through injuries is compelling television even when it's criminally negligent. Punk grabbed a microphone before the match started. Roman, you tried to end me yesterday. You put me in the hospital. You thought I'd be too broken, too scared, too smart to show up tonight. But here's what you don't understand. I didn't come back to WWE to play it safe. I came back to fight. So let's fight. The crowd went nuclear. But doctors watching at home were probably screaming at their televisions because what Punk was doing was suicidal from a medical standpoint. Roman's response was chilling. Punk, you're not brave. You're stupid. And I'm going to finish what I started yesterday, except this time, everyone's going to watch you get ended on live television. Then came one of the most spectacular entrances in SmackDown history. The lights went out. Demonic music filled the arena. And Finn Balor emerged as the Demon, the supernatural alter ego that's historically been unbeatable in WWE, representing Finn's primal, unstoppable force. The Demon's entrance was elaborate full-body paint, theatrical lighting, the crawl to the ring that makes him look inhuman. The crowd was mesmerized because Demon Finn is always must-see, but there was also this underlying tension because nobody knew whose side the Demon would be on. Historically, the Demon has been a force for Finn's personal justice, appearing when Finn needs supernatural power to overcome impossible odds. But the way WWE had been booking supernatural elements lately, with the final dynasty corrupting everything they touched, there were concerns about whether even the Demon could remain pure. Those concerns would prove justified in the worst possible way. The match was brutal from the opening bell. Roman immediately targeted Punk's injured ribs, hitting him with a Superman punch directly to the bandaged area that made Punk scream in pain. The Demon worked stiff strikes on both opponents, showing no allegiance to either side. Punk fought with heart that was genuinely inspiring but also terrifying to watch. Every time he took a bump, you worried it would be his last. Every time he clutched his ribs, you wondered if something had punctured internally. But Punk kept fighting, hitting Roman with strikes, attempting GTS setups, showing the resilience that's made him legendary. The crowd was torn between cheering Punk's toughness and being concerned for his safety. Chants of "please stop Punk" actually started around the 8-minute mark when Punk took a particularly nasty spill to the outside and didn't immediately get up. But Punk refused to quit. He pulled himself up using the barricade, blood now visible on his bandages suggesting he'd reopened surgical wounds, and rolled back into the ring to continue fighting. Around the 12-minute mark, the Demon started dominating both opponents. He hit Roman with a sling blade. He drop-kicked Punk into the corner. He was building toward what looked like a coup de grace on Roman that would give him the victory. The crowd was exploding because Demon Finn pinning Roman Reigns would be massive. It would show that the final dynasty could be beaten, that supernatural forces still existed beyond Roman's control, that hope wasn't completely dead. The Demon climbed to the top rope with Roman laid out perfectly for the coup de grace. The crowd was screaming in anticipation. This was at the moment that would turn the tide against the final dynasty. But then CM Punk, despite his injuries, despite barely being able to stand, managed to get up and shove the Demon off the top rope to the outside. Not because Punk wanted to help Roman, but because Punk wanted to pin Roman himself and take personal revenge for the assault. Punk covered Roman. The referee counted 1, 2, and Roman kicked out at 2.9. The crowd groaned because they thought Punk had it. But as Punk tried to set up for the GTS to finish Roman off, the Demon re-entered the ring. What happened next will haunt wrestling fans forever. The Demon didn't attack Roman. He attacked Punk. A vicious dropkick to Punk's injured ribs that sent Punk flying across the ring in agony. Then the Demon picked up Punk and hit him with a 1916 DDT with such force that Punk was clearly knocked unconscious. The crowd's reaction was confused at first, then turned to boos as they realized what was happening. The Demon stood over Punk's unconscious body, then looked at Roman Reigns and did something that should be impossible for a supernatural entity. The Demon bowed to Roman Reigns. Roman stood up, smirked, and casually covered CM Punk for the 3 count while the Demon watched, making no effort to break up the pin. Roman won the match, but more importantly, the final dynasty had somehow corrupted the Demon itself. After the bell, the Demon's behavior became even more disturbing. As medical personnel rushed to check on CM Punk's motionless body, the Demon prevented them from helping. He stood guard over Punk like a sentinel, not allowing anyone near. Then Roman, Seth Rollins, and Jacob Fatu emerged from the back. And in the most twisted display of dominance, the final dynasty joined the Demon in the ring, standing over Punk's unconscious form like conquering generals. Roman grabbed a microphone. "You see this? This is what power looks like. We don't just control WWE's wrestlers, we control WWE's demons. There is no force in this company that can stand against us. Not the Shield. Not supernatural entities. Nothing." The Demon, still in full paint and character, stood beside Roman in a show of allegiance that completely destroys everything the Demon character has represented. The Demon was supposed to be Finn's pure warrior spirit, incorruptible and beyond human politics. But the final dynasty had somehow brought it under their control. Then came the most chilling moment of the entire segment. The Demon's paint started to fade through camera effects, a visual metaphor for the character breaking down. And as it faded, Finn Balor's human form emerged, standing among the final dynasty with a look not of conflict but of satisfaction. Finn spoke, and his words crushed any remaining hope. "For years, I've unleashed the Demon to fight my battles. But the Demon is tired of fighting for causes that don't matter. The Demon recognizes true power when it sees it. And Roman Reigns represents power that even supernatural forces respect." This was Finn Balor not being controlled or manipulated, but choosing to align the Demon with the final dynasty. Choosing power over principle. Choosing to corrupt his own supernatural alter ego for the sake of joining wrestling's most dominant faction. The crowd was raining boos and garbage into the ring. This wasn't just a heel turn, this was a desecration of one of wrestling's most protected supernatural characters. As the final dynasty celebrated with Finn, medical personnel finally got to CM Punk. And what they found was horrifying. Punk was unresponsive. His bandages were soaked with blood. His breathing was shallow and labored. Cameras showed medical staff making frantic hand signals. A stretcher was called for immediately. And unlike typical wrestling injuries where the wrestler is conscious and able to assist with getting onto the stretcher, Punk was completely limp as multiple people lifted him. The final shot before commercial was CM Punk being wheeled up the ramp, oxygen mask on his face, medical team running alongside the stretcher, while the final dynasty stood in the ring laughing at what they'd done. Updates later in the show confirmed that Punk had reopened internal wounds, was experiencing internal bleeding again, and had potentially worsened his concussion. He was being transported to a trauma center for emergency evaluation and possible surgery. The implications of this SmackDown are catastrophic on multiple levels. 1. CM Punk risked his life to compete and is now potentially in worse condition than before. 2. The final dynasty has expanded to 6 members with Finn Balor/the Demon joining. 3. WWE's most protected supernatural character has been corrupted and weaponized. 4. The resistance against the final dynasty has lost another soldier. 5. WWE demonstrated they'll allow dangerous matches for ratings regardless of medical risks. Dean Ambrose is now the last Shield member standing and fighting. CM Punk is hospitalized again, possibly with career-ending injuries. Sami Zayn is broken and recovering. Seth Rollins is a traitor. And the final dynasty is stronger than ever with the addition of a supernatural entity. WrestleMania 42 is shaping up to be the darkest event in WWE history because there's no path to justice. The villains are winning, the heroes are destroyed, and even demons can be corrupted by the final dynasty's power. The triple threat match between Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Demon Finn Balor on SmackDown was reckless, dangerous, and resulted in the final dynasty expanding their corruption to include even supernatural forces. CM Punk's courage became stupidity when WWE allowed him to compete with injuries that required emergency surgery just 24 hours earlier, and Finn Balor revealed that he's willing to desecrate his own demon character to join Roman's alliance of power. CM Punk is hospitalized again, potentially with career-ending injuries from competing when he should have been in a hospital bed. The Demon Wrestling's purest supernatural force has been turned into just another weapon for the final dynasty, and hope for justice at WrestleMania grows dimmer by the day. What's your take? Was CM Punk brave or reckless? Should WWE face consequences for allowing that match? Is the demon corrupted forever, or will Finn eventually turn on Roman? Explode in the comments, because this is the most controversial episode of SmackDown in years. If this breakdown exposed the full horror of what happened, destroy that like button and share everywhere. Subscribe to Wrestling News CC because CM Punk's condition is being monitored and will provide updates as this dark saga continues toward WrestleMania. The final dynasty corrupted a demon, and wrestling's soul is dying one match at a time.